We welcome to Houston Sports Talk Dynamo defender Corey Ashe. He's in his 8th season with the Dynamo, and along with Brad Davis, Corey, one of just 2 players left from the Dynamo championship years. He's a 2-time All-Star, MLS champion, and last year was called up to the U.S. national team roster. Great to have you with us, Corey, and tough 4-1 loss against FC Dallas this past weekend. A red card left you guys playing down a man from the 60th minute on, and that's when they scored 3 quick goals to break the 1-1 tie. I know this one had to be real frustrating, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's. I thought first half we played relatively well. We were unlucky to give up, a penalty, but I thought we came back and found our bearings, found our feet, and we had it, going well, and then to get a red card the way we did, kind of just it hurt us a lot, and give credit obviously to Dallas. They punished us. They punished us for our mistakes, and before you know it, you look up and it's 4-1, and we put ourselves in a really big hole.
From what I understand, last year you didn't think the guys had quite the sense of urgency they needed during practice and early on in the season. What are your impressions so far this year?
The big thing last year was I think practice wasn't as competitive as previous years. I was fortunate enough to win a championship in 2007, and practice every day was tough. But it helped you get ready for the games. I thought, last year we were a little lax. Guys weren't as competitive as it should have been. I think this year, I think we think we have a great team, a team that can go far and can win the whole thing. So we started off obviously with 2 wins, and we've kind of taken a step back with the 2 losses. But I think if we can cut down the mistakes that we're making, we'll be fine. Aside from this last game, few teams have been able to really break us down and create, good chances. The chances are coming because we're turning the ball over in bad areas of the field, and we're getting punished for it.
Hey, Corey, thanks again for joining us. Just wanted to touch on last season a bit again because Brian Ching retired at the end of last season, and you spent many years playing with him and being around him. Describe from an insider's perspective what Brian brought to this franchise and to the Dynamo locker room.
Oh, he's a big time competitor. He's seen a lot, and he's been around for a very long time. Obviously, he's represented the national team. Just brings a sense of professionalism. He was a great professional on and off the field. Off the field, he was always, helping out with the community, helping out, the best way he could. And, on the field, the guy's just a leader. Gives it his all, whether it's in practice or on the field, and just, a good overall teammate. Great work rate, never say die attitude, and obviously, he scored some key goals for this club, and at times he put the team on his back and get the job done himself. So obviously, it's a big loss losing a player of his skill, but it's time for other guys to step up. And I learned a lot. I learned a lot about how to be a better person, but how to be a leader. From being around him.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to get to next. You've now played in the second most games in Dynamo history at 28. You're considered the grizzled veteran in this group. How does Brian and also Bobby Boswell's departure change your role? Do you feel like your voice and leadership need to be much greater this year?
Oh, definitely. I've had numerous talks with Dominic, and that's a role that he wants me to step into, and I think it's a role that I'm ready to embrace. It is kind of weird to look around the locker room and say, hey, I'm one of the older guys. And aside from Brad and aside from Ricardo Clark, yeah, I've been there the longest. I've played in a lot of games for the club. I've played for Dom. I know what he expects, and it's my job to get everybody on the same page, to let the young guys know, hey, this is the way things need to be done. Just like when I was a rookie, the guys like Brian Mullen and Pat Onstad, Craig Weibel, they kind of took me under their wing. Well, it's my job because I've been there, and I know what it takes to win a championship, and that's obviously what I'm trying to help this team get back to. So everything that I know, I'm just trying to pass along to the younger guys.
Speaking of leadership and Dominic Kinnear, what's it like to play for him, and what do you attribute his success over the span of his career?
He's a fun coach to play for. Yeah, I would say he's just as competitive as we are. The guy wants to win, and the good thing about him is he finds ways to win. He's obviously very good at finding talent and kind of getting everyone to buy into his system. He's good at scouting other teams, finding weaknesses. Just overall, he's a good coach. His record speaks for itself. Everyone knows, when the Dynamo get into the playoffs, watch out because, we're going to go on a run. So, we all enjoy playing for him. He's a good guy. He looks after his players. He listens to us, if we say, hey, our bodies are a little sore, or takes that into account, and, we'll kind of change practice up. So overall, just a great coach to play for.
You made a position switch, obviously, a few years ago to left back under the suggestion of Dom, and now you're pretty much a defensive stalwart with the Dynamo. Why do you think you flourish so much in the position?
I think it helps, obviously, with the guys that I have around me. It helps to have a guy like Brad Davis in front of you. Throughout the years, I played next to Jeff Cameron, who, obviously is a great player, Bobby Boswell, Jermaine Taylor. These are guys that have represented their national teams. So, they've made the transition really, really easy. I kind of have a good idea of what Brad wants to do. And I think I have a even better idea of what my opponent wants to do just because I used to be an attacking player. So I kind of have the mindset of still have the mindset of a midfielder. I'm able to go forward, but I'm also able to, defend as well. So I just honestly think it's just, the players that I have around me that have really made it easy to adjust to the position.
Well, it's every kid's dream to play for the U.S. national team. What was that experience like and to be a part of the whole thing? Tell us a little bit about what that was for you.
It was good. I had set, 2 goals last year. One was to make the All-Star team, and 2 was to make the Gold Cup. And, to be called in, granted, I wasn't able to get on the field, but just to kind of, to see how things are done at the next level, to just try to take in as much information as possible, from a guy obviously like DeMarcus Beasley, who plays left back as well. He was also my roommate, but just to kind of pick his brain and see what it takes to get to that level, I think was an awesome experience. And, fortunately for me, Klinsmann called the whole team back, to watch the final and just to kind of be a part of that and to see Soldier Field just, sold out and everyone chanting USA. That's just everyone's dream, is to play in front of, a packed stadium, everyone cheering for you. It was a great feeling and, definitely something that, I will remember. But, I definitely want to, eventually get back to that point.
Well, last week there was that 2-2 friendly. Your teammate Brad Davis was called up for that friendly against Mexico. What do you think of Jurgen Klinsmann's team, U.S. team here heading into the World Cup this June?
I think they have a good team. Obviously they're in a tough bracket, but a lot of talented guys. It's great to see, MLS getting a lot more exposure, with him calling in more MLS players. But overall, I think it's a talented group. Klinsmann's is a good coach, and I think they'll go to the World Cup and represent the U.S. to their best of their ability, and hopefully, they can make it out of the bracket.
Speaking of the MLS, quite a few players on the U.S. men's national team roster, but it's really made leaps and bounds over the last few years. Can you sense the growing popularity in Houston with the Dynamo and around the U.S. for Major League Soccer?
Oh, definitely. It's all throughout the U.S. The sport is growing. Obviously, it's attracting attention from overseas. Obviously, with Jermaine Defoe coming in, that's a big time player. But I think more importantly, getting a guy like Michael Bradley, Clint Dempsey, it starts to give the league a lot more credibility because now, your big time U.S. stars are starting to come to, back home and say, hey, this league is, it's on the up and coming. It's only going forward in a positive direction. So I think it's great. Around Houston, everyone loves the Dynamo. Now we have the women's team, the Dash. So it just shows you that soccer in general is growing, and we, I think, average around 18,000 a game. So it's great with the teams coming in, Miami and New York and Orlando. It's great, to see the league going in a positive direction.
When you were a kid, who were the players that you looked up to? Who inspired this dream to be a professional soccer player for you?
My big one was Kobe Jones, just because he wasn't the biggest in stature. I was fortunate enough to live probably about 3 hours from DC, so I would go watch DC United play when Marco Echeverri, Jaime Moreno, Eddie Pope when he just started, John Hart, so many great players, and kind of just wanted to emulate them. And fortunately, I was able to go to a lot of their games.
Well, you talked about this team's got a great ceiling, and before I let you go, I got to ask, how do you think this team compares to the teams that you played, the championship team that you played, and the talent that was on that team?
Oh, it's funny. I think about that a lot, honestly. I think this team, skill-wise, I think it's probably, it's definitely up there with 07. I think the difference with the team in 07 was the ability to manage games You have a lot of veterans on that team that knew how to get it done, that knew the ins and outs of the game. If you're up 1-0 or 2-0, how do you manage the game? I think that's the big thing that we need to figure out now is how to manage a game both home and away. So I would like to say this team, but I mean the 07 team and the 06 team. I mean they were good. That's for sure.
Well, your next game is Saturday, I believe, at Gillette Stadium, April 12th. It was just a real pleasure to have you on. Good luck the rest of the way, Corey.
Yeah, thank you,
Thanks
Corey.
for having me.
That was Corey Ashe on Houston Sports Talk.